Hello, and welcome to a new episode of the Core Brands podcast. Today is actually my birthday, but it's also the podcast birthday, first birthday. So I thought it would be a great opportunity to make a comeback and tell you a little bit about some of the lessons I've learned in this year, recording episodes with guests and solo episodes, and what's the way forward and what are the plans for the next couple of months and the next year. So I hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you're new around here, feel free to browse the previous episodes. There are fantastic guests, and I'm looking forward to host this space for you. I actually tried to record this episode earlier, but I was not feeling the flow of what I wanted to share. So I kind of go back and really think less about what I want to say, because I want this to come out as really spontaneous and really authentic. So that's what I'm going to be sharing with you now. Not that what I was going to share before was not, but it was scripted. So I kind of at the points of what I wanted to say, and that was kind of freaking me out. So I don't want to do that. So here it goes. I'm just waffling. So, and I already said so probably 10 times. Anyhow, back to the Core Brands podcast. So if you're here from the beginning, I launched a podcast last year on the 27th of November, my birthday. And I thought, why not make a special episode about all the learnings and all the insights I have about hosting a podcast for 1 year. So for those who don't know and are new here, I'm just going to quickly explain the reason behind the Core Brands podcast. I love podcasts. I listen to podcasts while I drive, while I run, while I'm doing stuff around the house. It's just my favorite way of digesting information. I have very little attention for long form video, for example. But if I'm listening, it's way easier for me. So for a couple of years, maybe 2 years, I tried to go on other people's podcasts. I really wanted to be a guest. I tried to pitch myself a few times, but I never really, I heard back some no's, and most of the times I really did not hear anything back, which was quite frustrating. But at the same time, I didn't take it personally. I was just like, you know what? I just want an outlet for me to talk about my stuff and work stuff and maybe chat with a few guests. Why am I not putting together my own podcast? And that's what I did. Spoiler alert. So I put together my podcasts. The plan was always to be something very light. So this is a side project. It's not a paid project. So sorry, I didn't want this to be taking much of my time, and interfering with client work. So, all the production is homemade by me. So I do the editing. I do pretty much everything on the podcast. And yeah, that's kind of how it started. We are 21 or 22. I think it's 21 episodes in. So the first couple of months were obviously the ones where the cadence was really kind of fast. And then I took a break in the summer. And then after the summer, I only recorded, I think, 1 episode. So it's been quiet because I really want to change a few things. And that's why I'm recording this episode, to share with you some of the things that I want to change, some of the things that I think didn't work as planned. Some of them worked even better. But yeah, so without further ado, the first thing that I had planned for the podcast, and because I wanted to keep it light and really easy to blend in with my busy life, I was planning to release 2 episodes per month. So the load would be really light. There would be no much pressure. They would have time to record episodes, promote the episodes, and all of that. And it seemed at the time the best way forward. However, I felt I was getting a little bit carried away, so I changed the cadence to 1 episode per week. Big mistake, because I could not keep up. And because I could not keep up, what ended happening was that instead of recording more solo episodes, so the idea was to have, a 50-50 balance of solo episodes and guest episodes. But because I did not have time to come up with my own episodes, what happened is that I just recorded a lot more of guest episodes because those were just easier for me to put together, invite guests or accept guests, support, and share. There's very little editing that goes into the episodes. I barely cut anything apart from, the mms and like those sounds. I don't really I really want to always keep everything pretty much, real and with a nice flow. So yeah. The cadence was not as planned. And then the plan of having it 50-50 solo guest episodes suffered with that. And then another thing that suffered as well was the promoting of the episodes. Because I was recording every week, it meant that the timeline to promote episodes would have to be more fast-paced. So it would mean that I would have to have an email out to the subscribers, a social media post ready. And at some point, I felt that on my social media, for example, I was only sharing podcast clips and not design work. And that was not nice because ultimately what brings the money in the business is my branding and web design business, not the podcast. So there was a lot of posts about the podcast, but barely any posts on my own brand and web design business. And I felt a bit weird. And at the time, I even thought, should I have an Instagram page just for the podcast? But then I was like, Roberta, you don't need another Instagram page to manage. And the podcast is not that big anyway. This is a homey podcast of a designer that just wants a space to talk about stuff. So yeah, I did not went with the idea of have a separate Instagram page, but sometimes I still think about it. Yeah, no, I'm not going to do that. There's just too much to manage. So yeah. So I talked about the cadence. I talked about the solo episodes versus guest episodes, marketing the episodes. And then, yeah, the good point about having guest episodes more than solo is that automatically you are reaching two audiences. So the episode goes out for my audience, but also because the guest will share the episode on their socials and their email newsletters. There's a lot of more eyes on my page. And I think that's good both ways, good for me and good for the guests. So that's one positive point. And then another thing that I learned, well, not that I learned, but I just had to come across is that before I had a podcast, I was pitching myself to go on podcasts. And as I said, I was not successful. Well, I've been a guest on one podcast since then. That's going to launch in 2026. So keep your eyes peeled or your ears peeled. I don't know how to say it. But the other way around also happened. So I've invited people. Most people accepted. Two people. Oh my God. Please send help. One person declined because, they justified. Yeah, like you don't need to justify if you don't want to come on the podcast. That's totally fine. But like they felt like they wanted to justify, like they had nothing to add, or they were not feeling comfortable sharing their story. And the other person just ghosted me, so they never replied. And I did not follow up because I thought maybe this is a sign that person is not right to come on the podcast. Felt a bit, I just let it go. So that's something that I did not think about it when I launched the podcast, but when it happened, I was kind of like, okay, there's also people that don't want to come on my podcast. That's also fine. You do you, boo. It's good. All good. We're friends anyway. What else did I wanted to say? My editing and recording process stayed the same throughout the year. So I still record the podcast on Riverside, my favorite platform ever. I actually use it for social media as well, for short clips. I love Riverside, and now you can host the podcast on Riverside. So before that, I was hosting on Spotify, but now I host on Riverside and it streams to all the platforms. So it's pretty cool. I'm an affiliate. I have a discount for you if you want. Just check the episode notes. Yeah, I know they upgraded their kind of like editing capabilities, so I might do that. I feel like my throat is kind of like full of hair. I think I can share a few a few insights about the podcast. So, drum roll, please. The 3 top episodes of my podcasts, and these come at no surprise for me because I could do actually the 10 top ones. Okay, I might do a 10 top post at some point, but for now, because I don't want to be sharing everything, I'm just going to share the top 3. So the top 3 episodes were guest episodes. I saw this on social media, LinkedIn, Instagram, everywhere, especially a big shout out to Jenny because Jenny really made the most out of it. She shared so many of the clips and you can really tell because Jenny Douglas from Chaos to Calm, The Power of a Well-Organized Home is the most played episode with 97 plays. Jenny, if you're listening, well done. Then the second one, Karen McCarthy, everybody knows the simplified social media. The episode was also very well received with 66 plays. And then the third one, Celine Jill, Creating Homes That Feel Good, Sustainable and Sensory Design. So those 3 episodes performed really well. The Celine Jill, didn't say 55. And yeah, the 3 of them performed really, really well. And then all the other ones, they were slightly less plays, but yeah, most of the well-received ones were the guest ones. So those are kind of like the overall insights. I have 52 followers on Spotify, which is kind of cool, given that I don't promote as much the podcast. So 52 followers feels like, a big group of people that follow my podcast and get notified about the podcast when I launch new episodes. So thank you for listening. And then kind of like what I want to share after, and just kind of like to end this quick episode is what are my plans now for year 2 of the podcast? Since, first year, I consider it successful. I didn't have much expectations. I did it genuinely for fun. Like that was the whole purpose. But for next year, I do want to change things a little bit. So I do want to create a stronger visual brand for the podcast. And this is actually a new service that I launched and that I'm actually working on with a client, not rebranding because I've worked on our brand before and now we are creating a sub brand, which is for the podcast, with the logo, with a separate logo, colors, a landing page on the website. So it's very exciting. So I think all the podcasts deserve that attention and I really want to do that for myself. I want to create a media kit because I want to approach some dream guests. So wish me luck. I'm feeling very bold at the moment. I feel like I'm on my bold era. So I think I'm going to be shooting invites right front and center. So get ready. And another big goal for me is to actually record more solo episodes. And while in the past, sometimes I was like, today I'm not in the mood, or I don't have makeup. I'm not going to put makeup. My hair is a mess. I'm going to make an effort to record an episode every week. But I'm only going to release episodes every 2 weeks. And they might just be audio episodes. So if I'm on my pajama with my hair in a bun, nobody needs to know because they're just going to listen to my voice. And that's really what matters, is what I'm saying and what I'm sharing. So it's not really how I look, if I have a pimple on my forehead or whatever. So yeah, I'm going to put that effort to record more solo episodes. What else do I want to do? Yeah, and I think because the cadence will go back to 2 episodes per month. I will also have more time to promote in between episodes, so it won't feel as rushed as before. It will feel like there's a more slower cadence, and I think it will be appreciated by everyone. So yeah, I feel like each episode will have their own time to live and to grow, rather than, I just launched this one and now I need to share the other one. And, they're kind of like competing between themselves for attention. And I think that was not useful. Yeah, I will have a stronger visual brand for the podcast. I'll create the media kit for dream guests. I will record more solo episodes, even if it's me with the hair in the bun. And I will have a more solid promotion plan for episodes. So yeah, that is year 1 for the Core Brands podcast and planned for year 2. Year 1 was imperfect, surprising, full of learning and connection. And one of the best things that I decided to start in my business, really, I really, really enjoy it. And I'm very grateful for each one of you that actually put up with my voice and listen to me and rate and follow the podcast. So if you're enjoying the podcast, it would mean a lot if you share it with someone who might need to hear it, who might enjoy it. And if you have any questions or any topics you want me to cover, send them my way. And here's to here too, and to building brands with intention, honesty, and heart. I'll speak to you soon and take care. Bye. Would find it valuable. And if you want to keep the conversation going, you can find me over on Instagram at Design by Roberta. Thanks for tuning in, and until next time.